What's up, folks? This is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards, and today I am here to talk about universal role playing systems. And like so many gamers out there, I have struggled to find the right one for me. Over the years, I've tried Cypher, ICRPG, GURPS, Genesis, the Black Hacks, and its various other hacks, and I've tried various Powered by the Apocalypse engine games. Now, each of them has their own merits, and I've talked about many of them on this channel. But when push comes to shove, and pound for pound, what RPG system does it the best for me across the board? It may be a surprise, but I think that Dungeon Crawl Classics may be the best universal RPG system for me and my group. So today I'm going to give you my top 5 reasons why I feel like Dungeon Crawl Classics is the best universal RPG system. Let's get into it.
Our friends, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Together we defend Castle Grayskull from the evil forces of Skeletor.
And at number 5, we have the roots of the Dungeon Crawl Classics system. You see, Dungeon Crawl Classics is a open gaming license OGL game, and because of that, it shares so much in common with the many OGL games of the early 2000s. Seems like everybody and their brother made an OGL game of some form or another to cover a very wide variety of genres. And Dungeon Crawl Classics is a simplified and more intuitive take on those original OGL rules. It's stripped out the unnecessary bits and replaced them with delicious, wonderful, flavorful ways to interpret your funky dice. And so that's my number 5, the genetic code of which Dungeon Crawl Classics was made.
A world of savagery, super science, and sorcery.
With my number 4, Dungeon Crawl Classics games require very minimal relearning of rules or concepts to travel from one genre to the next. I could just as easily play Mutant Crawl Classics as Dungeon Crawl Classics, and I don't have to reinvent the wheel to do so. We lay on a few extra layers of delicious, fluffy goodness, but at the root of it, it's still the same game. But it feels very different because Dungeon Crawl Classics already has such a flavorful system. Just changing a little bit of the dressing can really go a long way towards making a new genre feel fresh with this system.
And one day a lawman appeared with powers of hawk, wolf, puma, and bear.
3. A universal game system has to be able to cover all of the major established genres and do it well. Well, DCC has that in spades. It's got your Weird West with Weird Frontiers. It's got your Swords and Sorcery with the base game or Hubris. It's got sci-fi with Bug Hunt or Mutant Crawl Classics. It's got post-apocalyptic with Crawling Under a Broken Moon, Umerica, or Mutant Crawl Classics. It's got supers with True Vigilante. And horror is built into almost every version of the game through its tie to the mythos of Cthulhu. And for that reason, Dungeon Crawl Classics covers all of the genre bases for my needs of a universal gaming system.
I don't like this!
Whoa! What's happening?
Whoa! Where are we?
And coming in with number 2, simplicity with style. Dungeon Crawl Classics does a wonderful job of taking a relatively few number of mechanics and making the most out of them by giving them each their own very specific flavor. Whether it's the mighty deeds of the warrior, the divine disapproval of the cleric, the mercurial magic or varied spell effects of the wizard, Dungeon Crawl Classics can take a few number of classes and mechanics and make them all seem fresh and varied and altogether different and unique every time you play. So you don't have to learn a ton about the game to be able to experience this and enjoy it. I liken Dungeon Crawl Classics mechanics to a large toolbox with a huge number of tools in them. On any given job, you know you're only going to need one or two tools, but you're always going to have the right tool for the job because of the number of tables that are very specific to the job that they are doing. And that is my number 2 Dungeon Crawl Classics, Simplicity with Style.
The alien world of Myr is being devoured by dark water. Only Ren, a young prince, can stop it by finding the lost 13 treasures of Rule.
And in it, my number 1 reason that I think Dungeon Crawl Classics may be the best universal RPG system, it comes down to the community support. Dungeon Crawl Classics has a number of fanzines that completely flesh out entire genres of play. This is True Vigilante, which covers street-level heroes, which honestly was a genre I was skeptical Dungeon Crawl Classics would be capable of covering. But in this very simple hack, the folks over at Gunzo have really figured this out. There's also Crawljammer, Crawling Under a Broken Moon. There are Pirate and Roman, Gladiator, zines. There's all sorts of different options available. But basically, my thinking is that whenever there is a gap in what's available and what the community wants to do with the system, the DCC community, unlike any other gaming community that I'm aware of, really pulls up their sleeves and goes to work and fills the gap in a way that is impeccable. Those are my rambling thoughts on why Dungeon Crawl Classics is the best universal RPG system, but I'd love to hear yours. Please share your thoughts in the comments. Let me know if you agree with me or if you disagree with me and why. I have the Chained Coffin adventure module pulled up here because I recently purchased an extra hardcover copy of this, and so I have an additional PDF code for this module. Because my channel has grown far quicker than I ever thought it was, this is just kind of a minor hobby that I make a video once a week and didn't expect anybody at all to ever watch it. It's still not very big, but it's still way bigger than what I thought it would be at this point. So in order to celebrate that, I just passed 334 subs, and I think whenever I pass 350, I'm going to be inserting a PDF code for the Chained Coffin adventure module for Dungeon Crawl Classics into the video that follows me passing that mark. And then whenever I pass 400, I also have an extra PDF code for the Lankamar box set, which I just bought a second physical copy of. So if you would, please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoyed the content. And until next time, this has been Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Good gaming, and God bless.